Hello and good evening. Welcome to the regular City Council meeting for December 10th, 2020. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss any and all business via remote participation in accordance with Chapter 40A of Massachusetts General Law and Governor Baker's emergency order dated March 12th, 2020. In accordance with the Governor's order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, and Section 18 of the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the City Council will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Alternative public access to this meeting shall be provided in the following manner. This meeting is being televised via PBD Access Television. This meeting is being recorded by our court stenographer, and this meeting is being real-time via the Zoom application. If you now please rise for a moment of silence. And now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move approval of two separate records, Mr. President, November 12th and November 19th. So moved.
You heard the motion by Councilor Gould. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw. Councilor Sasslaw.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
If it pleases the council, I'd like to go out of order. I would like to receive late communication number 6 while we have the mayor. I would entertain a motion to receive.
So moved, Mr. President.
You heard the motion to receive late communication number 6. On the motion, seeing no discussion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Mr. Mayor, on the late communication.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I appreciate that vote, councilors. I try not to bring late communications, but this one certainly is kind of an emergency and required this action to come forward to you this evening. We are in need of a new city physician, and obviously that position is critical at this particular moment with everything that we're dealing with COVID-related. Forms need to be signed, advice needs to be given, and as we move into continue with COVID, more than ever the city physician position is needed, so I needed to bring it forward today. We're very fortunate that we're able to bring forward a candidate who really is just an incredible latest regarding COVID, and I certainly think he would be an excellent addition to help us, help our nurses, help Sharon and her team kind of navigate our way through these difficult times. Dr. Chowie also is works as a member of our indemnification board. That's the board that meets monthly to review police and fire injuries. He acts as our advisor and is also a voting member of that. And recommendations on issues such as that. But I imagine over the next few months it will be COVID. But again, this needed to be done prior to the end of the year. I apologize for bringing it as a late communication, but I think Dr. Chowie is going to do a tremendous job for us and really, again, help navigate our way through some difficult times. So I wanted to bring that forward and ask for his approval to be the city physician for this upcoming year.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I know that I'm going to regret asking this question, but over dinner tonight, my youngest was looking at the paperwork and said, "Dad, what happened to the old city physician?" So I told her I would ask you tonight. Is there a reason we need a new city physician?
Dr. Avgerinos did an excellent job for us. I just think that with his practice and with other things going on, he was unable to devote his time and dedicate his time this year. It was just pretty much as simple as that.
Thankfully, that's the answer you gave. I was hoping it wasn't something else that we would all regret. So,
He's been our city physician for a number of years and served us in a tremendous manner. So I just think it was time for a new person.
thank you.
Seeing no further questions, I would entertain a motion to approve. Council McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve the appointment of Alan A. Chowie, MD, FAAFP, 1 Roosevelt Avenue, Suite 201, PBD, Mass. 01960, to the position of city physician with a term, 1-year term to expire December 31st, 2021. So moved.
You heard the motion by Council McGinn. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton,
Yes.
Sasslaw,
Yes.
Mitsoulas,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Charist,
Yes.
Manning Martin. Yes. Turco,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you, Council, and I just wanted to wish each of you and your families a very safe and healthy holiday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council, for going out of order. We'll now go back to the irregular agenda. Next item on the agenda is item 4A, Class 2 motor vehicle. The clerk will read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, December 10th, 2020, at 7:30 p.m. and conduct said public hearing in person, City Council only, in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom for all other public participation on the application from Paulo Magahalis Borges, 37 Ferry Street, Everett, Mass., requesting the transfer of a Class 2 motor vehicle license from Douglas Carrier, DBA, Russ's Used Cars, at 20 Wallace Street, Peabody, Mass. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under City Calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Zoom information will not be available until the Friday before the meeting. Peabody City Council, Councilor Thomas J. Rozignol, City Council President.
Thank you, City Clerk. I see the petitioner is on the Zoom call. Attorney Santos, if you'd like to speak in favor on the petitioner's behalf, and please let the council know what your intent is regarding this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Yes, I would like to speak on the petitioner's behalf. He just wants to have his business in the Wallace Street. It has already been a car dealership for many years, and he would just like the license to be transferred to his name.
Thank you. Is there any attendees on the Zoom platform that would like to speak on this matter? Please raise your hand. If there's any attendees that would like to speak on this matter, either for or against, please raise your hand. Seeing none, Councilor Mitsoulas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, I didn't hear a word that Ms. Santos said, but I don't think I had to. I kind of understand why she was here and why the applicant's here. I met with the applicant during the beginning of the week, and was a gentleman, a nice kid, and I'm wishing that he has as good a luck in that business as Mr. Currier did for many years. And I had originally given Mr. Currier his license back in the 80s, if I remember correctly. But anyways, this is a very simple transfer. He's not looking for any changes. They're just looking for change in ownership, and all it is a simple transfer. I've gone through all the comments of Conservation Commission. They had made the comment that if any groundwork was going to be done, in other words, if they were going to do a hot top to the property, they'd have to register with the commission. But they're not doing anything like that. It's strictly paperwork and transfer. So that kind of eliminates that. The fire department has no comment. There no objection. Public Services has no objection. Collector's Office, there was an issue of back taxes, which has been corrected. And the Collector's Office, I guess, they would have caught that. And the Treasurer's Office, there's no objection either. The Police Department did the Corey check, so he's all set to go. And one of the requests were a parking plan, which the applicant has made out and submitted, and that seems also ready to go also. So myself, I have no further questions, councilors. If you do, be my guest.
Thank you, Councilor Mitsoulas. Any further questions from the council? Councilor McGinn?
Thank you, Mr. President. Through to Councilor Mitsoulas. The plan we have, Councilor, there is an email from the building commissioner that talks about a revised plan, and it wasn't 100% clear to me if we're looking at I see the clerk nodding to the affirmative. So what we have is the revised plan? Okay. She's answered the question, Counselor, that was my primary concern. When I count the spots on there, I see 50 spots identified, but the license was for 45 cars. So I just was wondering what the difference was on the 5 additional cars.
I'd have to ask him. Mr. Borges, could you answer that question?
Hello, gentlemen. Good night. There's 50 spots because when I sent the first parking plan, they asked me to identify which one will be the employees parking and the customer parking. So regarding cars for sale, yes, it's going to be 45 vehicles, but I add some spots so customers can park and employers can park.
I see. So the 5 additional spots, I can see that now, are for customer parking. That's what you're saying?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, and the dimensional requirements of the spots in this revised plan, you're in compliance with what the building commissioner had identified in his October 1st email?
Yes. I did some arrangements regarding the first parking plan that I sent, but I did everything looking at the email that the building inspector sent me. So basically, I can say that I did everything that they asked.
Understood. Thank you to the petitioner. Thank you, Councilor Mitsoulas. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had the same questions as Councilor McGinn. However, I don't see a second communication from the building commissioner, Al Talarico. Is there one? Were you referencing one, Mr. McGinn?
No, Mr. President.
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Manning Martin. I was not. I was asking, because it was vague to me from the email whether or not the plan that we had in our package was the original plan that Mr. Talarico was probably looking at, or if this was the revised plan. And what was confirmed by the clerk is that we are looking at the revised plan.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Through you, Mr. Chairman, I see that the petitioner is represented by counsel, Attorney Santos, who spoke earlier. Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Excellent, thank you. Just to confirm with you of this application, this
Yes.
this parking plan that is before us as part of the application that you submitted addresses the concerns that the building inspector pointed out?
Yes, it does. So we had submitted 2 plans. The first one was defected, and I believe his name is Talarico, if I'm pronouncing correct.
Yes.
He requested for us to redo the plan with certain specifications, and I did that with Mr. Borges. He looked at the email and, was able to submit a plan. I submitted to Inspector Talarico and also City Clerk Allison Danforth in one email to both of them, and at the same day that the taxes were taken care of.
Excellent, I'm glad you mentioned that as well. So you've tagged all the bases that were of concern, and this is a complete package, and you are the attorney of record on the case, so I'm fine with moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the council? Seeing none, Councilor Mitsoulas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to recess this meeting until, what date are we looking at, Councilor? January 14th, okay. So moved.
You heard the motion by Councilor Mitsoulas. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you. Next
Thank
item on the agenda is item 4B, special permit, Scott Crocker, 145 Summit Street, Suite 208. The clerk will read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, December 10th, 2020, at 7:30 p.m. and conduct said public hearing in person, City Council only, in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom for all other public participation on the application from Scott Crooker, 126 Farrell Road, Lynn, Mass., for a special permit seeking to operate a tattoo shop at 145A Summit Street, Suite 208, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with Sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under City Calendar on the homepage, or contact the City Clerk's office. Zoom information will not be available until the Friday before the meeting. Peabody City Council, Councilor Thomas J. Rozignol, City Council President.
I see the petitioner active on Zoom. Mr. Scott Crooker, please explain what you'd like to do at your site. Thank you.
That's it. Sorry, 1 second. Can everybody see me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to start off by saying good evening and thank you for your time today. I think it's everybody's dream to do something that they're passionate about, and that's all that this tattoo shop really is to me. It's going to be a big deal to obviously get involved in the great community of Peabody that I'm very familiar with as well. We're trying to run a clean, professional environment, and like I said, just run a great tattoo shop altogether.
Thank you, Mr. Crooker. Is there any attendees via the Zoom platform that would like to speak on this matter, either for or against? Please raise your hand. Is there any attendees that would like to speak on this matter, either for or against? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Crooker a number of times, and as he mentioned, his goal is to open a tattoo shop. First, as a point of order, I'd like to move to accept late communication 3, 4, and 5, letters of support for Mr. Crooker. So moved.
You heard the motion by Councilor Welton. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manny Martin.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Mr. President. So just a quick overview from my meeting with Mr. Crooker, and then I'm sure if any councilors have any specific questions, he'd be happy to address them directly. Just want to clarify a few things. Mr. Crooker is interested in opening a tattoo shop. He will not be applying for any piercing status to go along with the tattoo shop. I know that was a question that came up. And I had an opportunity to view the property. It's very clean, aesthetically looks more like a beauty salon service as opposed to, I think, what historically people might envision a tattoo shop to look like. It's on the second floor. I had a chance to meet also with representatives from the Barishian family who own Summit Plaza. They're very excited to have him as their tenant as well. Only issue that had come up that I wanted to make sure was addressed was parking. Definitely wanted to make sure the parking wasn't an issue with any of the abutters and within the plaza. And the representative from the owners group has allotted 10 spaces for Mr. Crooker to use, which will be ample parking. Through discussion, he doesn't anticipate that he'll ever need that full amount of parking, but it's there should it be needed. And this, beyond our approval, the opening of a tattoo shop is subject to the approval of the Board of Health, which has much more stringent guidelines and directives in terms of what Mr. Crooker will need to do to ensure he's in compliance and can open said tattoo shop. But thus far, everything that has been submitted for his special permit. There's been no comments from any of the departments, and he's received a number of letters of support from abutters and from other folks in the community as well. So I plan to support this project, but would certainly open it up to any other councilors for questions either of me or of Mr. Crooker. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Welton. Is there any councilors that would like to speak on this matter? Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say that I've had the opportunity to speak to Scott, and I just wanted to say that I support this permit. I know he was kind of nervous about how this this whole hearing thing takes place, but you did a fine job, Scott, and after all
I appreciate that.
I just wanted to say I support this, and I hope that it passes, and if it does, good luck.
Thank you.
So just procedurally, just to let you know, Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you, Council President, and I think this application looks great, and I just wanted to share what most impressed me was in the late edition is the letters of recommendation to see my classmate of 1981, Lieutenant Patermo. Only is he a lieutenant, but the thing that impressed me the most is anytime a father-in-law can let a letter of recommendation, that's something. So I did want to recognize that and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Sasslaw. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just to be clear right up front, I do plan to support this. This is a night of hearings that are right over the line, as was in the case of the last hearing for the car lot is right over the line in Ward 3, and this one's right over the line on the Ward 1 side. The question really is not of the applicant, but through you to Councilor Welton, and really just out of curiosity, in your discussions with the management group of the plaza itself, was there any discussion about the possibility of doing something different with the access and egress to that lot in general? This is off point from this particular application, but since we're talking about, you mentioned parking, it's a very difficult lot to get in and out of it, and it's obviously, as you're well aware, very close to an extremely busy intersection, and I'm frankly surprised we haven't had more problems there over time. So I didn't know if that's something that you happened to discuss through the course of your conversations. Thank you.
Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. That is definitely a concern of mine as well, and I'm glad that you bring it up. I did not have an opportunity to discuss that. To be candid, was not sure that the person that I was speaking with last night was the best person to discuss that with. It was the daughter of the owner, so I would be happy to follow up separately with you on that, and being that that plaza is adjacent to Ward 2, maybe we could set up a follow-up separately with them.
Thank you, Councilor Welton. Through you, Mr. President, to Councilor Welton. I'd be delighted to do that, and perhaps we could involve the police, and just in the spirit, again, having absolutely nothing to do with the application that's before us, but just potentially in the spirit of trying to help the property owner with creating a situation there that might be a little safer for the customers coming and going from the various businesses there. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor McGinn. Thank you. Councilor Welton.
If there's no other questions or comments for myself or for Mr. Crooker, I'd move to recess this matter until January 14th. So moved.
The motion by Councilor Welton to recess this matter till January 14th. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rossignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
This matter will be recessed until January 14th. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Crooker.
Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy the holiday.
You as well. Next item on the agenda is a special permit for John Mahoney, Atomic Coffee. The clerk will read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, December 10th, 2020, at 7:30 p.m. and conduct said public hearing in person. City Council only in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom for all other public participation on the application from John Mahoney, care of Atomic Coffee Roasters, LLC, 107 Water Street, Danvers, Mass., for a special permit seeking to allow use of Unit B as a food processing wholesale, provided all work is carried on inside the building at 5 Webster Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with Sections 4.2, 4.2.6, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under City Calendar on the homepage, or contact the City Clerk's office. Zoom information will not be available until the Friday before the meeting. Peabody City Council, Councilor Thomas J. Rossignol, City Council President.
Thank you. I see the petitioner, Mr. Mahoney, on Zoom. I ask the petitioner now to state what his plan is.
Sure, I just want to make sure everyone can hear me okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, we've outgrown our current facility on Mason Street in Salem, and we're just looking to increase our capacity to wholesale our coffee.
Okay, thank you. Is there any attendees via the Zoom platform that would like to speak on this matter? Is there any attendees via the Zoom platform that would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none. Councilor Mitsoulas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mahoney, I've been to your place 2 times this week. I was looking forward to meeting you. Usually when someone comes into Ward 3, I'd like to meet them so they'll know who I am and I'll know who they are. And I will have a better understanding of the operation you're bringing into my ward.
I'm sorry I missed you.
But I'm not giving up on you. I will take the rest of the week and I'll try and catch up with you. As a matter of fact, I'll try and catch you tomorrow morning. Mr. Mahoney, you're pretty aware of your surroundings over there. I mean, there's all kinds of businesses there. You've got the auto repair businesses next door to you. I could go through all of them. You've got a couple hundred people working on that site. You got a 7-story building that it's the building supply outlet that rents the 7 stories there also, and there's all little businesses in there. And when I saw your interest in moving in, I kind of liked it. I see a difference there. It's something that I've got to find out a little more about exactly what you do. I don't see anything offensive to the work environment. I mean, I could only picture smelling coffee grinds, and that's not really a bad thing. You know, I kind of like coffee, so that wouldn't bother me. I am going to save my comments until after I meet you tomorrow. And I am not going to say I'm 100% in favor of it, but I do not have an issue or a problem with you moving into that location with your business and the type of operation you have. And I will find out a lot more about it tomorrow and have a better understanding. I'm going to leave it open to the council right now if they have any questions for you. And by the time we recess this and we come back in a couple of weeks, you know, I'll have a better handle on exactly what you do. I'll leave it up to the council.
Sure. If I could say one thing.
Go ahead. Mr.
Mahoney. I tend to go between our different facilities, between my cafe that I own on Cabot Street in Beverly. We currently roast on Mason Street in Salem. So if you're trying to hunt me down, most of the time I'm at our headquarters, which is 107 Water Street in Danvers. So if you'd like to come meet me, I certainly welcome you and any city council members to stop by 107 Water Street in Danvers, where we have our cold brew coffee facility. You can meet myself and my brother Mark, who's my business partner in Atomic Coffee Roasters.
Okay, I will get your number and give you a call tomorrow.
Sounds great.
I'll meet up with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mitsoulas. Attorney Kelty.
I'm not muted now. I'm sorry, I'm here representing actually John Mahoney, and I guess that I didn't register as a participant. Is that the mistake that I made?
Correct. That's okay. You're with us now.
Okay. In any event, I'm not going to waste the council's time. The alternative, I think, might be, Councilor Mitsoulas, that if you would like John Mahoney to, meet with you at a certain time and bring you to the facilities, that might work better than this business of kind of a catch as catch can. Would that be amenable, Mr. Councilor?
That's even better, Councilor.
John, I have a number. We could call Councilor Mitsoulas and make that arrangement. I have a cell phone number for the councilor.
Right.
That sounds good. Thank you. That sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, Councilor Kelty?
No.
Thank you. Councilor Charest.
Thank you, Council President. Through you to the petitioner, is this strictly wholesale? Are you going to have a retail kiosk there for the beans or anything like that?
No, no, this is strictly a wholesale operation. There's no retail involved.
Yeah, that's too bad. I like my coffee too. Are you going to continue to keep your roasting right down the street too, or is this going to be mainly your processing plant?
We're going to keep both, we would keep both facilities running simultaneously for starters, and then eventually look to move the coffee roaster we currently have from Salem to this location on Webster Street as well. So moving our entire operation, it's, we would like to eventually do that probably a year from now or so.
Great. Do you supply any of the shops in Peabody with coffee? Do you know? Just curiosity, because I know people in Salem, Beverly, they rave about the coffee. So I'm just curious if you have if you sell it in Peabody shops here.
Up by the Bonkers Plaza, we have Carl's Sausage Kitchen as a customer of ours. I did a pop-up a few years ago right in front of the library, trying to see if there was the opportunity for a cafe, and I think that's what helped spawn the Breaking Grounds Cafe in downtown. And I've been honestly trying to get that business for a while now. So, with some persistence, hopefully we'll get it there.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Stress. Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. John, you neglected to say you can get a hot cup of Atomic Cafe coffee every day at Treadwell's.
This is true.
We serve Atomic Cafe, proudly serve Atomic Cafe coffee. John and his brother Mark are just the kind of entrepreneurial business people that we're dying to get into Peabody, and I've been trying for years to get them. And John, we're thrilled that you're thinking of coming. We're thrilled. It's a fabulous product, and you just keep working hard and you're going to be successful. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Any further councilors? Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I of course, will defer to the ward councilor, Councilor Mitsoulas. He does pride himself on meeting every applicant. So he wishes to meet with the applicant, and, that's a solid request. I do want to say, though, that I think having roasting coffee on Webster Street would be a fabulous addition to the city and that location. And this application looks, fine to me. It looks excellent. And given it's the end of the year, I would be remiss if I'm not remarking at how thorough these applications are, Allison, and it's you're doing a great job. But also, I want to commend all the departments that the department heads or individuals that are responsible for giving us all the information upon request. They've been very, very thorough as of late. And given it's the end of the year, a rough year, I just wanted to commend them and thank them for that. But again, I will defer to the councilor, so hopefully you two can meet, and he can have a nice cup of coffee, and you can tell him about your business plan. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Mitsoulas, like yourself, Councilor, I think this is very likely going to be a great fit. And like yourself, the only thing I could think of was potential for odors. So the only departmental response I didn't see in there was health. So maybe you could ask for a health departmental response, because some processing things there can be, although like yourself, I love the smell of coffee. For some people, if it's too heavy, it could be construed as a nuisance thing, and there might need to be some kind of a containment. But generally speaking, I think this is likely going to be a great fit. I remember well, through you, Mr. President, to the applicant, to the pop-up on Main Street. I personally wasn't able to drink enough coffee single-handedly to incentivize Atomic to come to Main Street, but maybe we'll get another cut at that in the future. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Look forward to getting this to closure in January. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman McGinn. Any further
I could
questions?
actually speak, if you don't mind me, I could actually address your question there in terms of odors. So we use an afterburner, which is a piece of equipment in line after the coffee roaster, which acts much like a catalytic converter in a car. So we burn the smoke and odors off in the afterburner, which incinerates the smoke at 1,000 degrees to eliminate odors.
Thank you, Mr. Mahoney.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mahoney. Mr. President, through you to Mr. Mahoney, thank you for clarification. I think it would generally be a great idea if we could just have that confirmed by the health department and make sure that there's that they're fully on board with that. It sounds to me like it's you've got a process that addresses it quite well. So thank you.
Right, being a wholesale operation, while we're certainly happy to discuss that with the health department, we actually fall under the Mass Department of Food Protection for licensure and the FDA as well.
Thank you. Any further questions from the council? Seeing none, Councilor Mitsoulas.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to hear from the health department, so. Mr. Mahoney, I just wanted to, I didn't want to give you the impression I was not for you. As a matter of fact, I was kind of excited when I saw it. I just didn't know what the feeling of the rest of the council was going to be. And Councilor Gould and Councilor Manning Martin and Councilor McGinn seem to be big fans of yours, and I think I'm going to fall right in line and be one of your fans also. I'm not opposed to this. I just personally want to meet you. I want to know who comes into my ward. And I think once we do that, you're going to be very welcomed in that neighborhood. So moved, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to recess this meeting till the 14th of next month. So moved.
You heard the motion by Councilor Mitsoulas to recess this matter till January 14th. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw. Sasslaw. Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill. Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rossignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is special permit for Peabody Association Limited Partners, 635 Lowell Street. The clerk will read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, December 10th, 2020, at 7:30 p.m. and conduct said public hearing in person, City Council only, in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom for all of the public participation on the application from MEC Peabody Associates Limited Partnership, 33 Boylston Street, Chestnut Hill, Mass., for a special permit to allow for indoor recreation, specifically for the Peabody West Little League to temporarily occupy Suite A205 at 635 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with Sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under City Calendar on the homepage, or contact the City Clerk's office. Zoom information will not be available until the Friday before the meeting. Peabody City Council, Councilor Thomas J. Rossignol, City Council President.
Thank you very much. I see the petitioner is ready to let us know what their plan is for this parcel. Mrs. DiNapoli.
Thank you, everybody, for having us. As you might already be aware, the Little League already was using this space prior. Their special permit expired this past April. Similar to their past special permit, they'll be using this area for practice during the winter. The only change to this permit is that they would like to extend their hours to allow for some of the younger age groups to use the facility. Monday through Saturday, they'll be using it from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. and Sundays 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. We hope this has a positive effect on the center and that this brings more foot traffic to our other tenants. They've been a great tenant. We've had no complaints to my knowledge, and we really hope that they can continue to use it and in compliance with all of the state guidelines with COVID and everything, and they can get back to having some Little League action. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Napoli. Is there any attendees that would like to speak on this matter? Please raise your hand. If there's any attendees via the Zoom that would like to speak on this matter, please raise your hand. Mr. Slattery.
Hi, good evening, members of the council. My name is Keith Slattery, and I am the safety officer for Peabody West Little League. We had a wonderful season this summer amid this crisis. We worked very hard to institute COVID policy and enforce it. We were diligent in our sanitizing process, mask use, and with limiting spectators in both number and in certain areas. I'm proud to say that throughout the whole season, we had 0 COVID cases all year, despite playing the sport. And all of our players had a great deal of fun, even with the strict restrictions in place. I do assure you that we are well versed in these phases, protocols, and the restrictions as issued by the governor. Besides being a safety officer for this league, I'm also a director of code enforcement for another municipality, and my job is to actually enforce COVID protocol in the city where I work. So you can be assured that I'm well versed in phases, whether they change or remain the same. Allowing these children a safe and monitored outlet during these times can only be beneficial, and I assure the members of this council that we will do our very best to protect our kids, our staff, and the general public.
Thank you very much, Mr. Slattery.
Thank you.
Is there any other attendees that would like to speak either in favor or against this application? Seeing none, Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Napoli and Mr. Slattery, for attending this. As they mentioned, sometimes the auto may not have been great. This is obviously a special permit that we had last December that we approved, and as Mr. Napoli said, it expired. They only needed it for a few months, but given the situation and the space being open at the Big Y Plaza, they've converted that, what was a small retail location where I think it was a mom's village, they've made it into this, smaller baseball training facility, and it worked really well. There were no issues with the other businesses, and obviously I'm biased, but Peabody West Little League runs a great show, and it was very safe, and certainly with the COVID situation, that's something that I have the ultimate faith that they'll be able to handle going forward. The extended hours track with the larger businesses in that particular parcel. I also think that given that they're trying to have both the younger kids as well as the older ones, they do need a broader, window, if you will, to operate. But I have no issues with that, and I don't see any issues with the foot traffic in that because of the extended hours. It's going to be most of the places may not be open, especially on the Sunday, the later hours. But I'm in full support of this. But I don't know if any councilors have any further questions at this time.
Thank you, Councilor O'Neill. Any further councilors have questions? Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to say it pains me as a veteran coach of the Peabody Little League that I might be supporting a competitive advantage. However, I just want to applaud Mr. Napoli and Mr. Slattery for your efforts. I had a chance to see, we had interleague play this year, and absolutely West Peabody and the Peabody Little League did a great job keeping those kids safe and keeping up with all the COVID protocols. So also as a parent, to know that there are recreation opportunities amidst all this, I think is a huge win. So thank you so much for your efforts on behalf of our kids.
Thank you, Councilor Welton. Any further question or comment from councilors? Seeing none, Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I would move to recess this hearing until the next council meeting on January 14th. So moved.
You heard the motion by Councilor O'Neill to recess this matter until January 14th. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Matsoulis.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Benny Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, members of the council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the special permit for 210 Andover Street regarding installation of 2 electronic vehicle charging stations with electronic digital display messaging. The clerk will read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, December 10th, 2020, at 7:30 p.m. and conduct said public hearing in person, City Council only, in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom for all other public participation on the application from Volta, 155 DeHaro Street, San Francisco, California, for a special permit seeking to install 2 electric vehicle charging stations with electronic digital display messaging at 210 Andover Street in the parking lot of the existing Macy's department store, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.peabody-ma.gov under City Calendar on the homepage or contact the City Clerk's office. Zoom information will not be available until the Friday before the meeting. Peabody City Council, Councilor Thomas J. Rozignol, City Council President.
Thank you very much. I see the petitioner via the Zoom platform. Mr. Lawrence, would you like to speak on this matter?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is John Lawrence. I'm a senior account manager with Volta. Volta is, as described in the notice, an electric vehicle charging company based out of San Francisco. I, however, am based lifelong North Shore, currently in Middleton, so know this area very well and very excited to see this, this project in front of you. What we're proposing is 2 electric vehicle charging stations and associated parking spaces adjacent to those chargers in the Macy's parking lot. Along with that would be striping the parking spaces. They're not exclusive for electric vehicle charging, but they are available for electric vehicle charging. They're on the 2 islands that are out in front of the store. One is currently a curbed kind of dirt. I don't want to call it landscaped because there's really not landscaping there. And then the other one is on a striped island. Also with me tonight, we do have representatives from Kimberly Horn who helped file the application and can answer any of the technical questions. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about the screens or about the parking or about the stations themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Is there any attendees via the Zoom platform that would like to speak on this matter, either for or against? Is there any attendees that would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, Councilor Charest.
Thank you, Council President. Mr. Lawrence, I spoke to you prior to this meeting and another representative earlier. And again, I guess as a community, we need to stay in tune to what is the community looking for, and obviously, I believe everyone here wants to support alternative energies that helps our community. And one of the things that we talked about on this is only 2 stations. I know there is 2 other stations on the other side of the mall, I believe. It's not yours, but your company it requires advertising because there is no fee to charge on their systems. Am I correct still?
Yep, that's correct. Eevee Go on the other side of the mall, near the Cheesecake Factory, they do charge. They're a different type of electric charger. Our chargers are free to the public, and anyone that goes to the mall can use them, no cost.
Sure. And with that, I'm also was the understanding that this is, it can charge many different types of vehicles and not a certain brand. Am I correct?
Yep, the type of adapter that's on our chargers is called a J1772, and that can charge every single vehicle, electric vehicle that's out there. The only, it's not really an exception, but Tesla has its own type of plug. So when you buy a Tesla, they give you a little adapter so that you can use our charger. So effectively, everybody that has an electric vehicle could charge at our station.
Sure. And the one thing with this, I want to make sure the council is well informed and we go by the ordinance. I did express to you that we have a advertising billboard ordinance, and I believe this falls under that ordinance because of it's a 50-inch screen. Am I correct?
Diagonally, it's 55.
Diagonally,
yes,
50. Okay.
Digital screen.
And the advertising on it, as we talked about earlier, it is we have a minimum time of it to rotating an advertising. When we talked, your company might be below that. Have you looked into that to make sure you can adhere to our ordinance?
Yeah, so by default, the screens rotate every 8 seconds, and there's a total of 8 rotations. That's our standard that we do across the country. Did talk to our media team who sells the advertising and did express your concerns. And we can change. It's not ideal for us because it creates a little bit of additional, I don't want to say headache, but additional programming on the back end. But we can change the screens to do the 15 seconds. And actually that came up incidentally at a Macy's recently down in Hyannis that was approved. So we had to do the same thing there and bump it to 15 seconds. So again, it's not ideal, but it is something that we can do. Sure.
And have you been in contact with our building commissioner so you understand exactly illumination, the signage that you talk about, the 15 seconds? I certainly would want you to make sure, this is a hot topic within the city. Certainly not looking to make any changes with our ordinances the way it sits. I would like certainly for you to fall into play with what we have. And I know you mentioned that there's other areas within the city you may be looking at, so certainly it would be beneficial for the full understanding right up front for you to be able to do it. I certainly support this. I think we need to do what we can to support the alternative energy and the way the community is going. But I just want to make sure you follow in line. We're not recreating an ordinance that specifies that works, with you and not the opposite way. Illumination, can you talk a little bit about the illumination of it? And is that able to be set and dimmed? And my other question, when you talked about the hours, when the off hours, would the panel be shut down completely?
So as far as the chargers themselves and the ability to charge, we coincide the hours that those are operational at the mall so that we don't have like Uber drivers or something like that camping out overnight and hanging out in the parking lot when the mall's not open. The screen themselves do stay lit, but the actual charging is shut off when the mall shuts down.
And as the panels, do they dim down more than when there's operation?
Not at this time. They do dim. Excuse me. They do change at night, and I have the spec here. And so, and I had to actually look up what a nit was, even though I work in this industry. I didn't quite know, but I guess it's it's a measurement of how bright they are. So during the day, they're 2,500 nits, and then at night they do dim to 1421. And when we shut down, if the Macy's closes at 10 or whatever, we can dim them a little bit further, but they don't shut all the way off. I just want to be clear, make sure I'm saying that correctly.
And one other question. On the advertising, is it limited to just the merchants at the mall, or is it in general a wider base?
No, so we have a media team. We also work with some ad agencies that sell the advertising. It's open for, I don't want to say everything, but because we do have restrictions on, we're not going to advertise pornography or cannabis products. We stay away from political ads. And then we're not going, because it is an agreement that we have with Macy's on a Macy's parcel, we're not going to advertise a direct competitor to Macy's. But the advertising is available. Generally, our stations are attractive to people that are, companies that sell things in the mall, because if you look at where we place them, it's the last thing that people see as they go into the store and the first thing they see when they come out. So the brands that you'd find in Macy's would be the ones that would most likely want the advertising on the station, but it's certainly not limited to just what's in Macy's. We do a lot of, Eevee cars, so Jaguar, Porsche, and companies like that have also purchased advertising from us in the past.
Sure, great. I'm glad you talked about there is some restrictions on it. Certainly would look that you would have a moral restrictions on certain advertising here, and it sounds like you do with this company. And I believe we must have a restrictions on the advertising that we have on our billboards. That was prior to me coming on the council, so I imagine there is language there that you would need to adhere by, but I understand what you're looking for. You're looking for the like you said, the car makes and probably the sneaker makes and things of that nature, probably stuff they sell in the store. So right now I have no other questions that at the top of my head, so I'd like to open it up to the council.
Thank you, Councilor Stress. Any councilors that would like to speak on this matter? Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome, Mr. Lawrence. We're glad that you're coming to Peabody, or attempting to come to Peabody, but it sounds like it's something we're looking forward to. Maybe I missed it. I don't know whether Councilor Charest asked about any agreement to community advertise, whether it be an Amber Alert or anything that is community related. Is it within your contract?
That's actually a great question. We ran into this a little bit with COVID, and there was some jurisdictions in California that wanted to get advertising on our stations for things like wash your hands and just kind of community announcements that were centered around COVID. So it's a possibility. I think that Volta would be certainly open to those discussions. We want to be a good community partner, and as it was brought up, we've and I can't talk about this because it's an official deal. We did close the deal last week with Stop and Shop in Peabody, so we'll be coming. Hopefully this goes well and we can follow the same template for that one. And then, with the other, Volta's main partner is generally going to be retail. And there's a lot of good retail opportunities in Peabody beyond the Stop and Shop and beyond Macy's. So, we want to be a good partner, and, I'm sure Volta would be open to those discussions. And I can certainly put you in contact with our media team and the people that run the advertising.
Yeah, I would like that. If you could do that to the council as a whole, please. Sure. And I'm sure that maybe Allison might know better. Allison, does that go through the building inspector's office? That kind of language on community advertising?
I think Chris Ryder handles those.
Right, he does. You're right, he does. Okay. But if, through you, Mr. President, if Mr. Lawrence could forward us some information and maybe make sure that we get that to Chris Ryder's office, that would be great. Because it is always good to be a good community member, Mr. Lawrence, as you were saying you'd like to be. So thank you, sir. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor Walton.
Thank you, Council President. Actually, Councilor Gould asked one of the questions I was going to ask, so thank you for bringing up that point, Councilor Gould. And we have had recently a number of billboards where we've made that request. So I know this is a little bit different, where it's potentially not entirely within the same purview of the billboards, but I think that would certainly be something I'd be interested in seeing, especially for emergency notifications and that stuff similar. So thank you very much for looking into that, and we appreciate your support there. I'm just curious, how long does it take for a full charge, as a customer utilizes this? And as a follow-up to that, do you anticipate auxiliary parking being needed for those that are queuing up to get their charge? Thank you.
Sure. Great questions. And I spoke about the charger. So there's just basic EV charging. There's really three kind of levels, and I'll just go through this quickly. There's basic level 1, which would you really have at your house, which is basically an extension cord. There's a level 2, which we're proposing. They're a little bit slower charger than a DC fast charge, which is what Eevee Go has over by Cheesecake Factory. So for example, Eevee Go, and to back up, as far as timing, it really depends on the car. Tesla comes out with really large batteries, and it might take several hours to get a full charge on one of our chargers. But something like a BMW i3 with a really small battery, you could maybe get 3 to 4 hours. The reality is, most people, our charge is really kind of a convenience charge. Most people aren't leaving their house on empty, or what would be effectively empty, and then coming to the mall to charge up. They're leaving their house at 80%, maybe running a few errands, and then they're sitting in Macy's or going through the mall, spending a couple hours there, and then really just kind of topping off. So if you come in at 80%, you're probably going to top off the average battery within a couple of hours, as opposed to the Eevee Go, which is a DC fast charger. Those ones will charge a lot quicker. But we do have a DC fast charger model, but it's really the level 2 charges that we're proposing here is what the retailers want. Because what happens is it's only taking you 15, 20 minutes maybe to charge your car. You're not getting out and going into the store. So our chargers are a little bit slower, but for that intention, right? That you're going in, you're spending money, and you're spending more time than you normally would in the store, and in theory, spending more money. So it's hard to say because the cars are so different. If it was a Tesla, like I said, it might be several hours. If it was an i3 or maybe a Chevy Bolt, it might take a few hours to get back to a full charge.
Great, thanks for clarifying. I think that helps to give us a better idea of sort of the business model as well. Is there a maximum amount of time that you allow cars to stay there? So
yeah, that's a good question. We put in Macy's actually controls this a little bit. So we put on our signs and on the painting just 2 hours. We don't really enforce that. The EV charging or the EV driver community really kind of self-polices that. You're generally respectful of each other to make sure that, nobody's sitting there for 4 or 5 hours. It's a tight community, and they just kind of police it themselves. If Macy's chooses to enforce that 2 hours, that's really up to them. But we at Volta don't really get into that. And kind of to answer one of your other questions as far as cars queuing up, we put 2 stations here because we do a lot of analysis on how much usage and how many EVs and how much traffic actually goes there. And right now we think 2 is the right amount. But certainly, Macy's owns a pretty good lot out there, and if we started to see cars queuing up, like you said, we would propose more stations near the other entrances because there's certainly more opportunity at that location.
Great, thank you very much for clarifying. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you, Councilor Welton. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the petitioner. Have you had an opportunity, or are you aware of the ordinance Peabody has for charging stations?
We are. So I have Bryn from Volta as well as Dean from Kimberly Horn who prepared the application, and I know are a lot more familiar with that. So I would defer probably to Dean on that one, or Bryn if she's available.
Hey, good evening. Is Bryn on here?
Looks like she might have just jumped on.
Yep, I'm here. Dean, do you want to speak to that one?
Yeah, we actually were not familiar with an EV charging ordinance that was currently in Peabody. That hadn't been communicated to us during the application process at all.
Mr. President, through you to the petitioner, it's ordinance section 19-118, and it was adopted by the council in 2018. I think it'd be great if the clerk could get you a copy of that and just make sure when you come back we have some comfort that you're in compliance with the ordinance, or that you will be in compliance with the ordinance, I should say.
And I'm curious, what in that ordinance is applicable? I mean, I understand it's obviously an EV charging ordinance there, but I'm curious what that is exactly and its applicability to us in this site here in our application specifically.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't really give you an opinion on that. But you know, it was put in place in anticipation of entities like yours coming to the city. So you know, I need to make sure you have it, have an opportunity to review it, and give us feedback in terms of your ability to comply. Thank you, Mr. President.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilor Shiras.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor President. Just to a point with Councilor McGinn, Mr. Lawson, I believe, I'm pretty sure, I'm positive, that that information was, I relayed that to the former representative of your company. His name escapes me right now.
Sean Larkin.
Sean Larkin. That I asked him to make sure he looked at that, because I did get that communication. I reached out to Councilor McGinn. He's pretty thorough on that, and I forwarded that to him. I know when we spoke, you wanted to catch up on something, and I may not have mentioned that or mentioned it and didn't catch it, but I wanted to make sure. That's why I was pretty insistent that talking to the building commissioner and making sure you fall in line with all our ordinances, so you're not surprised with it, especially since, as you announced and we talked about, you locking down a contract with Stop and Shop just down the street. So you want to make sure you fall in line, which I'm not sure of the information right off the top of my head when I read it, but I'm sure you'll probably be understanding of what the language says. So,
sure.
Yeah,
and I think, I apologize, because I know, like you mentioned, there was a little bit of a turnover at Volta, so maybe that piece didn't get passed through. So we'll be sure after the meeting to make sure that we're reading the ordinance and making sure we're staying in line with that.
Thank you. Councilor Saslow.
Thank you, Council President. I'm just curious, a lot of my questions have been answered, but where is the closest location that you folks are operating in if we wanted to drive by and see one of these? Is there something nearby in the greater Boston area?
Yeah, so the closest one to us would be, we have two down in Burlington, right off Route 3. If you're familiar with the Wegmans, which is right near the Burlington Mall, and then the AMC Theater, which is actually kind of next to the Wegmans and Burlington Mall. And we also have one at the Shaw's in Wakefield, which might be a little bit closer. That's 134 Water Street in Wakefield. And yeah, those are going to be the closest. We just finished, if you're in Boston, at the Prudential Center. We just actually activated those yesterday. So there's, I think, 6 or 7 stations in there. But probably Wakefield or Burlington are going to be your closest ones.
Councilor Saslow.
Sure, great. Thank you much. And the other question, do you allow advertising?
I apologize. You broke up a little bit there.
I think my internet's a little bit funky here. Did you allow liquor advertising?
My
internet's a little unsafe.
Do you allow liquor advertising, I believe is what the counselor asked.
I know, so I'd have to go back and look at our agreement with Macy's. I know like our standard one, that's one of the things that are excluded. And then there's some site partners, like for example, we have an agreement with Wegmans and they sell liquor, so that they want that included. So I'd have to check. I don't want to misspeak here, so I can find out for sure for this particular site if that's excluded or not.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Councilor Sasla. Any further questions from the council? Seeing none, Councilor Charest.
Thank you. Before I ask for a recess, because, as you said, you locked down Stop and Shop, which is in Councilor Masulis's ward, right, Stop and Shop. Maybe I can reach out to you, and me and Masulis can take a ride to one of your locations so we can see firsthand. And I'll work that. And Pete, Council McGinn would like to go. Good. If any other council's looking to do a field trip, just let me know. We'll be we can make that happen. And I'll contact you. Have your information to maybe if you wanted us to meet out there or one of your other representatives, so we get a full idea. Since it's new coming to the city and in new places. So with that being said, I'd like to recess the public hearing.
You heard the motion by Councilor Charest to recess the public hearing until January 14th. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Yes. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rosignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
That motion, that hearing will be recessed until January 14th. Next item on the agenda is item 4F, special permit, Peter Metropolis, care of DMP Realty Trust, 484 Lowell Street. The clerk will read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, December 10th, 2020, at 7:30 p.m., and conduct said public hearing in person, City Council only, in the Frank L. Wigan Auditorium, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., and remotely via Zoom for all other public participation on the application from Peter Metropolis, care of DMP Realty Trust, 484 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., for a special permit amending Special Permit 4-1981 by changing the number of individual units in an existing building from 10 units to 30 units. Said additional units shall be included in the list of approved special permit uses specified in said Special Permit 4-1981 at 484 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with Sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. For remote participation using the Zoom platform, please visit www.pbd-ma.gov under City Calendar on the homepage, or contact the City Clerk's office. Zoom information will not be available until the Friday before the meeting. Peabody City Council, Councilor Thomas J. Rosignol, City Council President.
Could you please state your name and address for the record and what your intention is for this property?
This is Peter Metropolis. I live at 5 Plymouth Road, Peabody, and the intention is to increase the number of units at 484 Lowell Street from 10 units to 30 units.
Thank you. Is there any attendees via the Zoom platform that would like to speak either in favor or in opposition of this applicant? Got him up. Russ, if you could speak your name and your address for the record. You have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now? No? I did.
Yes. You muted yourself again.
It says muted, that's
Nope.
why.
There you go. You're good.
Okay. Russ Donovan, 12 Queer Road, South Peabody. I have some concerns about this. It seems like a very increase in usage, and I don't know what a unit is. And now this is a business neighborhood, and I'm sure we're all familiar with Lowell Street and how busy it is. And to go from 10 units, whatever they are, to 30 on that lot particular, where you know where it's located, could be a excessive use of the property. Not knowing what a unit is and what's the proposed use, are those other 20 going to be? I have concerns about that. You're all familiar with Lowell Street and the traffic issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan. Is there any other attendees that would like to speak on this matter, either for or against? Is there any other attendees that would like to speak on this matter, either for or against? Seeing none, Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you, Council President. I hope everyone had the opportunity to read the narrative that the petitioner talked about. Basically, the situation is they've been in this property. It'll be 40 years next year. Mr. Metropolis' father, I believe, was the one who was the original, still is the owner, but constructed the building and managed it. Peter has taken it over. And I think, quite frankly, what happened is that in his narrative, he talked about the fact that more businesses need smaller space. So that being said, he was cutting down the units rather than having partitions, actually have separate offices. Mr. Terenzoni, I believe, the building inspector went in there, did his due diligence, and upon that, told Mr. Metropolis that he should look into changing the special permit. I believe it was Mr. Peter Metropolis had no idea, and he had reached out to me, and through reaching out to me, I told him to contact Building Commissioner Talrico, which he did do. So quite frankly, in reality, I don't see any increase. I'm not concerned about any increase in traffic at all. Actually, the only thing I would ask is I did speak to the Mr. Metropolis prior to the meeting. I did review with Mr. Metropolis that the concern of the fire department, there's no objection, but Captain Dowling is asking for fire protection devices and our sprinklers. Heads will require alterations with a new floor plan. I would ask that if the city clerk could send the petitioner the fire department's comments and also Conservation Commission. I don't believe he saw those when I brought them to his attention. Concom had a question about any expansion of the parking lot. They have no intention of doing that. Everything is going to stay the same. And most importantly, the envelope of the building is staying the same. There is no expansion of the building, no increase of the envelope. So I'm comfortable. They've been there for many, many years. And since I've been on the council, I've never had, I have not had one call regarding any issues at all. And I know that recently he's been, I believe, in doing some improvements to the exterior of the building that I've noticed. So at this time, I have no further questions. So my fellow councilors, have at it.
Thank you, Councilor Sasslaw. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I agree with Councilor Sasslaw that, it's very limited complaints or issues coming from this building at all. But just looking through the applications, I had a number of questions, and I hope you don't mind, but primarily we're going from 10 businesses to 30 businesses. So I would see, Mr. Donovan's correct that there would be an increase in traffic. I do have a slight concern about the amount of businesses. The concern basically relates to, this is a blanket special permit, which I've never heard of in my life. So there's a couple different issues going on here. It's a blanket special permit with a lot of by right uses that, to put 30 of any of these uses in this building would obviously create a concern. So I think that's probably why it was limited to 10 in the first place. One of those uses, and I think Councilor Manning had addressed this maybe a year or two ago in a separate special permit over on Pulaski Street, is where it says it uses the word drugs, and whereas drugs have a different connotation these days than maybe they did in 1980, you know, where people just assumed it was a drugstore. I forget how we rectified that, so I'm going to defer to Councilor Manning to ask her how. I think she actually asked to change the verbiage, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but do you remember what it was?
Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you. Yes, Councilor Turco, we referred it back for review because of that reason, because it didn't meet. We had concerns of exactly what you're saying, that the zoning under which it was described did use the word drugs. So we were afraid that it was going to open up, you know, to things that we did not want there, whether, you know, maybe, you know, marijuana or any other type of, you know, sales. So you are right. So we did halt it, and then we put it back in for review, and I believe the language was changed, and that was down on Pulaski Street, and it was the Habitat for Humanity. So it was just Habitat for Humanity, having nothing to do with drugs, but unfortunately it fell under that zoning. So it did trip them up for a little bit, but it was corrected. So you are correct.
Thank you. So if I could ask Councilor Sasslaw if there's a way we could address that. You know, we've done it in the past, and I just, you know, would feel more comfortable with it. The other question I had is, this blanket special permit also goes on to speak of a use variance issued by the Zoning Board of Appeals, which I don't have a copy of the use variance, which I don't even think are legal anymore, but I think they're grandfathered in, those that have been issued, you know, in the 60s and 70s. But I don't know what the use variance allows for these 30 units, because I don't believe that it's in here. So I would like to get a copy of the use variance. And lastly, my question is, what's there now? What are the 10? It sounds like you've already gone over 10 businesses there, and that's why you're coming here to correct that. So I'm wondering, what are the 10, 12, 14 businesses that are already existing? So, Mr. President, through you to Mr. Metropolis, can you answer that offhand? Which businesses currently are in that building?
Mr. Metropolis.
I can answer that question. On the first floor, we have Salon Blue, a hair salon. We also have Thomas St. Jean, an insurance company. We have Butter Associates, which is a furniture wholesaler, sales office. We have my office, the office, you know, for the office building, but also I'm a travel agency under Metro Travel. I have Alicia Thornton as a therapist. And I have Alb Realty, which is a real estate company selling real estate. He has his real estate license. On the second floor, I have Paul Rosen, a computer consultant. Also, I have Legal Recovery Group, which is a law office. And then I have Rose Raymond as a photographer. In the lower level, I have the Peabody Municipal Union office. They've been there for a long time. I have another photographer, Tevez. She'll be moving out, though, at the end of this month. I have a hypnotist, Reiki person, Janice Girolamo. I have ABCN, another computer consultant. I have another photographer. And then I also have, I'm sorry, I'm going from memory. I have A Affordable Towing, who just does a management office, no towing trucks at all allowed on the property, just where he takes the calls. And then I also have a esthetician under Sonia, a wellness center, and I have another insurance person under, I got a mental block, Stan Levy, I'm sorry. So those are the current businesses in there. Over the years, when the tenant was in there and they subdivided the office, we then individually rented the individual offices. But those are the current businesses. On the small offices, we don't get, a lot of the tenants aren't in there a long time. They're actually there just for appointments, and then they're gone. On the larger offices, you get more use because that's where if they have 1,000 square feet, they'll have 2, 3, 4 people in the office continuously. But the small offices are the opposite, where they come in for their appointment and then they leave. So that they have to have a legal place of business. They can't run from their business from the house, and that's the businesses that we're starting to attract.
Thank you. And one of the reasons I asked about the amount of, it sounds like you get a lot going on there. One of the reasons I asked about the businesses, because also in this special permit, which is another oddity, it divides up the amount of spaces per business type on this lot. It's just kind of the strangest special permit I've ever seen. But it says paragraphs 1, 2, 3, and 5 shall have 20 spaces dedicated to it, and then paragraph 4 should have 21 spaces. So you have a total of 41 spaces, and you want to put 30 different businesses on the lot. I think that kind of may be an issue. It's just, you know, I mean, obviously, Councilor Sasso, you're overseeing this permit. My suggestion would be to kind of limit this to less than 30 somewhere, whether it be 20 to 25 or maybe even 20 for a starting point to see how this works out. But a lot happening in a very tight space over there on Lowell Street. Just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Any further questions from the council? Councilor Charest.
Thank you, Council President. And through the councilor to the petitioner, Mr. Metropolis. Yeah, so my understanding for this is that you've been adding more units than what the special permit has said, just so I'm understanding of this. Am I correct? So you have, as you were reading, I was counting close to 25. Are you at 25 tenants there, individual company tenants?
Is the question for Peter Metropolis?
Yes.
Well, we have allotted up to 30 units, individual offices. The offices themselves are small, and we don't have 30 tenants in there now.
Sure. So you have, that's probably good on this part, because I know throughout the years that I've been on we've been having special permit for this location, and I was just assuming that those businesses that were there left, and you were renting out the 10 spots. But it sounds like you've been just adding more office space to the building itself, the footprint. So this is not my ward. My ward is across the street. There's a lot of activity in that stretch right there. With the gas station, you build your business and everything else, but I would probably recommend to the ward that you don't rent out any more office until you get this straightened out, because it seems to be that you're way over, and I'm really concerned with how the setups of those offices are, and it falls in line certainly with any COVID issues that we have with people coming in and out, and also with certainly the fire suppression. So I really kind of look forward to seeing what the fire department and yourself come back with their plans. Again, just my thought to the ward councilor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the petitioner. Mr. Metropolis, I can appreciate that you are trying to rectify the situation of having a special permit to reflect the use that you currently have. My question to you is, have you given any thought? It sounds like in your description of who's there and the usage of that space, it seems most of the businesses might be smaller, either startups or smaller service or gig related businesses that just need an address in a small office space to do some work. As such, I was wondering if you've looked at sort of a work bar or WeSpace type setup, it seems to me that that might be a better fit for the usage that you have there, and maybe that would help mitigate some of the challenges with having so many different individual offices. It sounds to me like with the COVID issues and you know, possibility for scheduling desks and hoteling and that type of thing, it might be something you would be interested in looking at.
I never heard of those items, those type of businesses that you mentioned, but each individual office has their own door, and right now the office building front door is kept locked. People still can exit freely based upon the handle on the door, but in order to come into the building rule now is for the person to call before they come in the building. The tenant then comes to the front door and lets them into their office, so that we don't have people in any waiting area or in the hallways waiting, so we don't have to it reduces the possibility of transmission of COVID because of that. Also, the salon who's in the building must follow that rule under state regulations, from what I understand. So when this problem occurred with the virus, I told all the tenants that we're just going to comply, all the businesses in the building, with that same regulation, not letting a person in until your office is empty, so you can only have one customer in at a time. Most of the people don't have a lot of customers coming in. Some don't have any, because everything is just a place for them to come do their business, so they don't have to work out of their house. And some just come in when they have an appointment, and then they just leave after their appointment. So it's actually, if you ever drive by the building, we have almost 53 parking spaces, and many times there's only maybe 10, 15 cars in the parking lot. The building is never, parking lot is never half full. It's just not a heavy use. Now, when you have larger offices, you get actually more people in an office because they have to make money off of that office space, and they don't, so they have full-time employees. We don't, on the smaller office, you generally don't, about half of the people don't have full-time use of the office.
Thank you, Mr. Metropolis. I think I'd love to maybe send some more information about those setups, because even as you're describing that, it seems like it's even more of a better fit, just in my personal opinion. I can understand, again, you know, with 10 offices under the special permit, you know, having the opportunity to have it set up as it is, but if you're seeking to expand to serve officially 30 different offices, just from an efficiency standpoint, it might be worth looking into, and I'd be happy to share through Councilor Sasslaw to you if that's something you might be interested in taking a look at. But thanks again for coming to us this evening and for your efforts to try to rectify this. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Mr. Metropolis. In your letter to us, sir, you indicated that, you know, this has transpired, the growth of the office, by putting up dividers for smaller office space. It's happened over the last 40 years. So this is a long time. But you also noted that with each change of a tenant, you apply for an occupancy permit, which is required, so that the building inspector would come in and inspect the area to be rented out, and you pay a fee for that occupancy permit. So the building inspector has come in with each application that you have filed for and been approved for over the past 40 years. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so it's not like we're doing anything, you know, underhanded, and I don't feel that this is a case of it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. I don't get that sense from you. I think, obviously, if you wanted to just put in 30 offices, 40 offices when you had a permit for 10, you wouldn't be calling the building inspector to come in and inspect your unit annually probably a few times a year for the last 40 years. So I don't think you're doing anything underhanded, and I think you are trying to rectify the situation. So let me ask you this. What happened in April? You were advised by the building inspector on April 22nd that you were over your permit. So what happened in April that all of a sudden we noticed that you were over your special permit limit? And how is it that you didn't know that you had gone over your special permit limit of 10?
Well, at the time when I started doing this, I didn't realize that we had a limit of 10. I just assumed that we could actually have more as long as we got the occupancy permits for each of them.
Okay.
Now, in April...
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
In April, when the building commissioner says I had 20, immediately I told him, I thought there was no limit on the building as long as we had the occupancy permit in there. And he says, well, let's go through the ones that we put through or we applied for, but you have to rectify the situation with the city council. And that's what we're doing right now.
Okay, this seems very fair and an honest mistake to me, and you are trying to fix it. Because I would probably make the same mistake if I kept contacting the building inspector and it wasn't pointed out over the years. And now that it is, the building inspector is simply just telling you to rectify it. So I think we should come up with a solution for this gentleman this evening. So I'll follow the lead of the ward councilor on this. Thank you.
Any further questions from the council? My one question is regarding fire protection. Through all of these modifications and changes that the building has kind of undertaken over the past years, and it's even noted in here that, fire protection devices and/or sprinklers and walls are now required. Through your occupancy permit process, I just want to make sure that the fire department has an updated and accurate layout of your facility, so that if, God forbid, there's ever an incident, that they know exactly what modifications have been made over these years, as well as that every building, every usage and every office space that is in that building is adequately protected. As you put up a petition in one area, you might actually, eliminate a sprinkler for that particular area. So I just want to make sure that whatever process moves forward from here on in, that building is 100% safe. That's to me is paramount. That's the only comment I have regarding this application at this point. I'll now turn it over to Councilor Sasla.
Thank you, Council President. I think you've all brought up some very good points. I'm sure this has been quite an eye-opener for Mr. Metropolis this evening. A couple of points I do want to go back on. So when Mr. Metropolis was listing off the businesses, I did write them down. I counted 18. It sounds like there might have been one or two you might have missed. So I'm going to just say right now there's probably 20. I don't think there's any more than that, but there was 18 listed that I wrote down. In addition, regarding this parking spaces, if you look in the special permit on page 5 of 7, it is listed that there are 56 existing spaces. And as I said earlier, I went over with Mr. Metropolis. He could not expand the parking lot without going to Conservation Commission. He doesn't have any intention of doing that, but I felt it was important to address that because, as Councilor Turco pointed out, in the old permit, there was the mention of 41 spaces. And I thought that's significantly different, 41 versus 56 existing. What I would like to recommend is I will meet with Mr. Metropolis, and I'm going to go through the building myself. I hear loud and clear what the council is saying. There might be some movement. If I feel comfortable with 30, I'll come back and say that. I might make a recommendation of 25, but quite frankly, I'm not going to make that recommendation until I go down and I walk through the building. I have been in there. to conduct business, but it has been a while. So I'd like to go through that. So I will come back, and I'm sure me and Mr. Petropoulos will come to some resolution, some agreement. Once again, I would just ask that the city clerk make sure that the fire response is sent to Mr. Petropoulos and the Peabody Conservation Commission comments. And Mr. Petropoulos, as I said earlier, I just think it's imperative, obviously, that you speak to Captain Dowling, make sure he's happy, all your papers are in order, your fire protection is in order. And lastly, what I would also like to ask is regarding the special permit back issued in February 19th of 1981 and the notation of drugs. If the city clerk could, I'll work with the city clerk and we could find out how they alleviated the situation down at the Habitat on Pulaski Street. I'd like to get that language, and then once again, I will review that with the petitioner. I don't think that he was even probably concerned or aware of that. And I'm sure that the language will be fine, and we'll just take however we resolved it down there, we'll resolve it up here. So I think we've addressed most of the issues, and like I said, I appreciate everyone's input, and I will give the petitioner if he'd like to say something one more time. Well, Mr. President, I'm finished. Before I recess it, I'm going to give you if you maybe want to ask him if he'd like to say anything, I think that might be great. If not, we can recess it.
Mr. Metropoulos, would you like any further comment?
No, sir. I think I have everything I need.
Thank you. Councilor Sasla.
Thank you. So, and Mr. Metropoulos, I will be in touch as we have already spoken already, and we'll get through these issues together. With that, I'd like to make a motion to recess the public hearing to January 14, 2021. So move.
You heard the motion by Councilor Sasla. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Mitsoulas. Oh. Gould.
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Thank you very much, Mr. Metropoulos. Next item on the agenda of reports of committee, Industrial Community Development, Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met this evening, and in attendance was the 5 members of the subcommittee and all other members of the council as a whole. We met to discuss with the mayor any particular properties, that city-owned properties that might be up for sale. He focused in on 2 in particular that will be auctioned off potentially next Friday, 2 lots on Bow Street. There were also some other possibilities of other city-owned property, but nothing to move forward on at this moment. That's a report of committee, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Next item on the agenda is motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to receive items 8B, 8E, and 8F. So moved.
You heard the motion by Councilor Welton. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Gould.
I'm sorry, I should have made a motion. I should have commented on the motion. 8A is also in the same category. Councilor Welton, if you'd like to add that.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Amend the motion to also include item 8A.
Thank you.
You heard the amended motion. Roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville. McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor Welton.
No further motions. Just want to wish everybody happy holidays and say thank you as my first year is coming to a close this evening. So thank you very much for everybody. That's all.
Thank you, Councilor Welton. Councilor Sasla.
Thank you. On suspension of rules, I'd like to make a motion to receive item 8D.
You heard the motion by Councilor Sasla.
On the motion.
On the motion, Councilor McGinn.
Through you to Councilor Sasslaw, that we need to approve that, I believe, Councilor Sasslaw?
Yes, we do.
So the motion is to receive and approve?
Receive and approve, yes, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sasslaw. Thank you, Mr. President.
You heard the motion by Councilor Sasslaw to receive and approve.
Mr. President,
Councilor Turco.
my apologies. On the motion, through you to Council McGinn. Councilor, I know yearly we go through the same issue with one of these appointments being mayoral or two of them being mayoral and one being a city council approval. Is this the same one that you seem to have to bring up and straighten out every year?
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President, through you to Councilor Turco. Actually, no. Happily, I did look at it, and the clerk did a fantastic job getting it right, and I am convinced that this is correct. But you're right. Typically, this one does get a little twisted, but I think it's squared away now, and hopefully that it's that way for good.
Thank you. My apologies.
You heard the motion by Councilor Sasslaw. Seeing no further discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton?
Yes.
Sasslaw?
Yes.
Gould?
Yes.
Charis?
Yes.
Manning Martin?
Yes.
Turco?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Melville?
Yes.
McGinn?
Yes.
Rozignol?
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you. Well, this is our last meeting of the year, and we're not going to get together for another month. I did want to just let the public know of a great experience I had, and that's regarding the city website. On the homepage of the city website, I know there's an issue with potholes, probably will beginning of the season, but if you just go on Pothole Reporter, you'll be amazed how quickly it got fixed. I just did that in my own neighborhood around the corner. I'd say within 24 to 48 hours, and sometimes a lot of people wonder about that. They do a great job up at DPS. In addition to that, I just noticed, I must admit, I really didn't notice this before, but there's storm drain reporter. Sometimes we have issues with leaves. Now we're moving into ice season. If there's a problem with the storm drain in your neighborhood backing up, once again, I encourage everyone to go on the website because the DPS really has done a fabulous job with that. And I do want to let people know it works, it's great, it's efficient. And I think it's a tool that should be utilized. Also, I did want to congratulate Council President Rozignol on finishing your presidency. You came in under very difficult circumstances, and I just want to acknowledge doing the job. I do want to thank you. It was not easy, and you did it very well, and you got us through the year. So I want to acknowledge that. Thank you. And lastly, I want to wish everyone a first night Hanukkah, whoever's celebrating it, and Merry Christmas, and Kwanzaa, and everyone else have a great holiday season. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Sasslaw. Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8E and schedule a special permit hearing.
You heard the motion by Councilor Gould. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton?
Yes.
Sasslaw?
Yes.
Gould?
Yes.
Charis?
Yes.
Manning Martin?
Yes.
Turco?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Melville?
Yes.
McGinn?
Yes.
Rozignol?
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor Gould.
Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8G, and schedule and refer to, community development. So moved, Mr. President. Industrial Community Development Subcommittee, I'm sorry.
Thank you. You heard the motion by Councilor Gould to refer item 8G to Industrial Community Development. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton?
Yes.
Sasslaw?
Yes.
Gould?
Yes.
Charis?
Yes.
Manning Martin?
Yes.
Turco?
Yes.
O'Neill?
Yes.
Melville?
Yes.
McGinn?
Yes.
Rozignol?
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor Gould.
Mr. President, if it's okay by you, I'm going to do a couple pages worth of renewals, if that's all right.
Have at it.
All right. Under suspension of the rules, motion to approve all papers being in order. Class 1 motor vehicle licenses 2021 renewal. Acura of Peabody, 233 Andover Street. Audi of Peabody, 252 Andover Street. BMW of Peabody, 7 Centennial Drive. BMW of Peabody, 221 Andover Street. Flagship Motors Commercial Vans, 202 Newbury Street. Jaguar Land Rover Peabody, 247 Newbury Street. Mini of Peabody, 209 Newbury Street. All papers, approve all papers being in order.
You heard the motion by Councilor Gould. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor Gould.
Under suspension of the rules, move to approve all papers being in order. The Class 2 motor vehicle licenses renewal for 2021. AC Auto Sales, 3 Bourbon Street. Allen's Auto Trim, 27 Holly Street. Alex Auto Sales, 480 Lowell Street. Auto Choice of Peabody, 249 Andover Street. Auto Factory, 156 Newbury Street. Auto Graphics and Sales, 220B Newbury Street. Auto Mall Collection, 218 Andover Street. Auto Express, 98 Foster Street. Bill's Auto Sales, 256 Newbury Street. Brake Lights Motorsports, 131 Newbury Street. CNC Auto, 180 Newbury Street. Carcraft, 258 Newbury Street. Century Tire, 53 Walnut Street. DNR Auto Sales and Repair, 100 Bernie Street. Elite Pre-Owned Auto, 153 Newbury Street. 4-Star Service, 134 Newbury Street. Unit R, UB. JPC Auto Sales, 258 Newbury Street. Michael Motors, 1 Sylvan Street. Oasis Auto and Truck Center, 7.5 Mason Street. PK Motor Cars, 195 Washington Street. Prestige Motors of Peabody, 257 Andover Street. Russ's Used Cars, 20 Wallace Street. Stackos, 119, 121 Lynn Street. Summit Auto Sales, 14 Newbury Street. Unlimited Sales, 3 Bernie Street. And I believe Councilor Charis wants to interject motion on the Wilson Square Auto Sales, but I move to approve all others other than Wilson Square Auto Sales, approve all papers being in order. So move, Mr. President.
You heard the motion by Councilor Gould. On the motion, Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the clerk, Russ's Used Car, 20 Wallace Street, isn't that the one subject that we just transfer, or that is in the process of transfer?
Correct, it's in the process, but they renewed it because it expires at the end of the
So we
year.
need- we
And
need
by
to
the
renew
time
it,
we have
yeah.
the second hearing.
Very good, thank you. Thank you to the clerk, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Seeing no further questions, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor Gould.
Mr. President, would you like me to move forward on Class 3 or have Councilor Charis address Wilson Square?
Why don't you continue?
Great. Under suspension of the rules, move to approve all papers being in order. Class 3 motor vehicle licenses renewal for 2021. Peabody Auto Collision, 9B Rear Collar Street. Peterson's Automotive, 114 Newbury Street. Pinto Recycling, 147 Summit Street, Building 3D. Move to approve all papers being in order, Mr. President.
You heard the motion by Councilor Gould. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis. Manning Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor Gould.
Under suspension of the rules, move to approve entertainment licenses renewal for 2021, all papers being in order. Azorian Brotherhood of the Divine Holy Ghost, 20 Howley Street. Bertucci's, 15 Newbury Street. Boston Marriott Peabody, 8A Centennial Drive. Brody's Pub, 10.5 Lowell Street. Cabaret, 96 Newbury Street. Capone's, 147 Summit Street. Century House, 235 Andover Street. Cheesecake Factory, 210 Andover Street. We are, Madam Clerk, we are skipping the Golden Banana, am I correct?
I could.
Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you. I was aware of the email that went out regarding a unpaid tax bill. Tax bill. I did reach out to the owner today. It was, he informed me it was for personal property. It was the amount of $196.20. He said he tried to use the portal. He had an issue with it. He had put the check in the mail. After that conversation, I did call clerk, Allison, the clerk, to just review that with her. She thought there might have been something from Mr. Morphus that had been cleared, but it wasn't. It was a different issue. I did ask her to confirm the amount that he did owe. She did say to me it was actually $192.60. I transposed the numbers. If I'm comfortable with that, it's just a very small amount. I will take them at their word. Quite frankly, they're not running and up and running right now. But if no one objects, I feel comfortable with going out on the limb that the check is in the mail. It's $192.60. We'll round up to $193, and I feel comfortable. They've been there a long time, and I just felt I wanted to share that with everybody. Thank you.
We're approving all papers being in order anyway, so if it's not in order, they won't get approved. Am I
Thank
correct?
you, Council Blue.
Thank you. So the Golden Banana, 151 Newbury Street. Grecian Diner and Tavern, 136 Newbury Street. Greg's Lounge, 50 Walnut Street. In the Game, 535 Lowell Street. Knights of Columbus, 96 Main Street. Legal Seafoods, 210 Andover Street. Oliveira Steakhouse is also the same case. I believe it's taxes. Madam Clerk, do you have an update on that?
Yes, they are also back on their taxes, approximately $150.
Okay, so we will not approve that one at this time. Correct, Mr. President, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Patty Kelly's, 154 Washington Street. Peabody Lynn Lodge of Elks, 40 Oak Street. Portuguese Benefit Society, 61 North End Street. St. Michael's Polish American Society, 15 Endicott Street. Santapio's Pizza, 71 Newbury Street. Spare Time Tavern, 63 Foster Street. Spinelli's Function Facility, 10 Newbury Street. Stanzi's, 1 Main Street. Stonewood Tavern, 139 Linfield Street. Sugar Cane, 106 Main Street. Sylvan Street Grill, 12 Sylvan Street. Tony C. Sports Bar, 210 Andover Street. Approve all papers being in order, Mr. President.
You heard the motion by Councilor Gould. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Gould.
Yeah.
Charis.
Yes.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Turco. O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to approve all papers being in order. General licenses, renewal for 2021. Fortune Teller, Mrs. Russell's Psychic Studio, 259 Andover Street. Taxi Cab, Sunshine Taxi, 153 Newbury Street. Approve all papers being in order for the general licenses, Mr. President.
You heard the motion by Councilor Gould. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor Gould.
Mr. President, I believe the next is in the same category of delinquent taxes, the lodging house license for W.J. Scoris Realty Trust.
Would you like to move on to the next one?
Sure. Under suspension of the rules, move to approve entertainment license, new entertainment license for the Eatery, 58 Marketplace, 58 Pulaski Street. Set up a, am I correct, set up a public hearing?
Correct. Receive and set up a public hearing.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. President.
You heard the motion by Councilor Gould. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10 to 0.
Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am not familiar with what to do with the item 10.
Adopt as advertised.
Ready for council adoption. Adopt as advertised. Under suspension of the rules, adopt as advertised on ordinance section 19-126. Obedience to isolated stop signs of the code of the city of Peabody, Gedney Drive, Vieira Drive. So moved, Mr. President.
You heard the motion by Councilor Gould. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Yes.
Welton. Sasla.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10 to 0.
Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too want to congratulate you and commend you is a better word in the job you and Allison did this year. It was remarkable how continual you became. We never really lost a beat. Things had a different look to it, but it's been quite a year with the divisiveness of our presidential election, the civil unrest throughout the country, the pandemic that has killed over 280,000 of our fellow citizens, 212 of which were from Peabody. 17 million children experience food insecurity. Unemployment rate is at a troublesome almost 7%. Foreclosures have doubled since May 2020. But we have some hope on the horizon with the vaccination program starting in late to take shape. We need to stay vigilant. We also need to support each other. And I would like us as a council, elected leaders of our city, continue to support each other in a collegial, respectful manner. Let's turn the page on 2020 and look forward to a promising future. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor Charest.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to take a late communication 1 and address that. As Councilor Gould was going through the licensing, as you read through this multiple pages of infractions and investigations, it's nothing, and excuse me, I'd like to make a motion co-motion with Councilor Mitsoulas on this too. Thank you. How many times?
Councilor Charest, do you want to just receive this first?
Sure, I'd like to make forgot we have to vote. Motion to receive late communication.
You heard the motion by Councilor Charest. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol. Motion carries 10 to 0.
Thank you, Council President. As I was stating, if you look through this document that was provided to us by the inspector, you can't not help to think that the owners of the Wilson Square Sitco is just saying, turn their nose up to us and just not obeying by our inspectors that have so much more things to do, but continue to go out there to inspect an area that's, I think maybe a year and a half ago, Councilor Manning Martin brought this up as an issue, and since then it's been just an ongoing infraction, and got many calls about the appearances and the things going on, and I talked to Councilor Mitsoulas, and he said the same thing. So when this came up for a license renewal, and with this also, I believe we need to have a show cause hearing, bring Wilson Square owners in for this. And I think at this point, we just don't move on his license. I mean, if he thinks he's going to operate and turn his nose up to the city and the inspectors and the residents and the neighbors nearby, I find it so offensive. So I move to call the owner in for a show cause hearing. So move.
You heard the motion by Councilor Charest for a show cause hearing for, let me get the name right, Wilson Square Auto Sales, 2 Andover Street. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll.
I'm sorry, Mr. President. I'm sorry,
On the
Mr.
motion,
President.
Councilor Turco.
On that motion, Councilor Truss, would you mind inviting Mr. Sakni and maybe Mr. Tallarico or Sergeant Captain Richards, whoever handles licensing for automobiles, and I know it used to be Deputy Chief Cohen, but since he's retired, I'm not sure who took his place. So could you invite some of those individuals?
Absolutely, I would insist on that, because I think them word of mouth right to us is probably better than the information we have in writing. I'm sure they could probably paint a much better picture for us. Absolutely.
I'll say Councilor Turco.
Yeah, and one last thing. I believe, I'm not sure if it's automatic, but the city solicitor's office needs to be notified of a show cause hearing. Although I actually think that they kind of do the hearing, if I'm not mistaken. I think when we had one a few years ago, it was Adam Buckley that actually conducted the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilor Gould.
That was exactly what I was going to mention. Thank you, Councilor Turco, Mr. President.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manning
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill. Melville. McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor Charest.
Thank you. And I also now am curious that we did not vote on the renewal, so does that be suspended until the show cause hearing? Marson, the clerk, or other councilors who might have been gone through this before?
Well, his license will expire December 31st. Until it's renewed, he won't be able to.
So the, obviously, we don't have a meeting before the ending of the year, so would he be notified that his license will be not renewed until the show cause hearing?
He will be notified that there will be a show cause hearing.
But would he understand that the license is now, will be ending at the end of December? Would that be in that literature too?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just for understanding.
Councilor Charest.
Thank you. With that suspension of the rules, I'd like to ask Captain Richards to inspect and give us some information that can be done on the corner of Cooner and Violet Road to making that neighborhood and neighborhoods streets there safer, for their recommendations for any additional signage. So move.
You heard the motion by Councilor Charest. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor Charest.
Thank you. I also like to ask Captain Richards if he can arrange a time that the digital billboard for speed be placed up in that neighborhood, 2 different locations, if he can find the best, in his opinion, to indicate the speed. We're getting a lot of complaints of cars zipping through that neighborhood. Unfortunately, it's usually the people who live in that neighborhood, because there's no other reason to being up there. So move.
You heard the motion by Councilor Charest. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor Charest.
Thank you. Also, I'd like to ask Captain Richards to inspect and his opinion on a ordinance of a stop sign at the intersection of Hunt and Ellsworth. So move.
You heard the motion by Councilor Charest. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis. Manning Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor Shiras.
Thank you, and I would, as well as the other councilors, like to say thank you and congratulations to Councilor Rosendahl, President Rosendahl, for finishing up his year of president. And I've always told people it's kind of like a boat owner. It's the happiest days is the day you own it and the day you sell it. It's kind of the same, I think, with most of these past presidents can explain that it does, it's a great work that you do, but it is nice to get back onto the sidelines. And with that being said, you know, throughout the years, we had some great duels, some great partnership. If it's Mary and many of the mayors that she worked with, if from the school committee, Mary and Marge with the superintendents, and I have to say Tim and many of his president councils throughout the years, and even the councilors on the board, but also now it's, you know, certainly Allison and Tom on the work you did this year. I don't think it can be compared to many other years in the past. I am thrilled to have been working with you, both of you. I look forward to many years with both of you. But again, you know, the two of you, the things you had to take on was remarkable, and the class, the dignity you showed to people is really outstanding, and something I think sets the stage for going further on in the years. So thank you. God bless you. To everyone, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, many holidays, and see you next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Shiras. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Earlier this year, we transferred, I think it was $580,000 as a supplemental transfer of funds from various city departments to the school department, and that was a few months ago. And then more recently, we had in one of the PowerPoint presentations for a budget update as we were preparing for tax classification, we got a presentation by Mr. Gingras that indicated that the school department was, at this point, $4 million in the black. Now, I understand that Mr. Gingras may not have the accurate, up-to-date, current, or forecasting numbers, but as would, of course, the school business manager. But given the letters that have already been received tonight regarding the funding of the library, there were some heartfelt letters that we already received from citizens, Kathy Gravel, Donna Craven, Cynthia Dad, and Martha Holden. What I wanted to do is send those letters, make a motion to send those letters to the school committee. Just by chance, as again, Mr. Gingras described, that they were in the black because of the COVID and all the challenges, and the money is just being spent differently, that just by chance that they are in the black, if they can take into consideration the plight of the library, and I think by sending them the heartfelt letters of these 4 residents, they won't be able to help if they don't know. They can't help if they don't know, and they can't help if they're not asked. So I want to make a motion to send those 4 letters to our colleagues on the school committee, just so that they're aware of it, and as they go through their budget deliberations and their expenditures throughout the year, that they're aware of it. And if they can do something, if there is a lifeline there from the school department to the library, that they're aware of it and that they may be able to help. So I make a motion to send those 4 letters from the individuals I just mentioned to the school committee. So moved.
You heard the motion by Councilor Manning Martin. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilman Manning Martin.
Further motions, thank you very much, everyone. Happy holidays, and I hope 2020 ends soon, and 2021 is better for all, and everyone stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. Did we receive late ad 2 as of yet? Motion to receive late ad 2.
Does that receive and approve?
Well, I'll go through them, but okay. Motion to receive and approve. Item A, Class 2 vehicle licenses 2021 renewals for Deals Used Cars 108 Newbury Street, King Motors 1 Rear Newbury Street, Unit 102, Spiro's Auto Sales 90 Margin Street, Spofford Automotive 55 Rear Walnut Street. Item B, entertainment licenses, renewal for 2021, Amigos Restaurant Kitchen 210 Andover Street, Not Your Average Joe's 210 Andover Street, Outback Steakhouse 300 Andover Street, Veterans of Foreign Wars 20 Stevens Street, Wardhurst 31 Linfield Street. Item C, limousine licenses, renewal for 2021, Michael's Limousine 161 Lynn Street. Item D, utility contractor's license, Emanuelo Excavating 9 Ash Street, Hingham. Move to receive and approve, all papers being in order.
You heard the motion by Councilor Turco. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a co-motion with Councilor Welton to have Department of Public Services and Peabody Municipal Light Plant install a light pole, a light fixture on an existing pole at 16 Sylvia Road. So moved.
You heard the motion by Councilor Turco. Seeing no discussion on the motion, roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charist. Manning Martin. Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0.
Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. Then Councilor Charest said it much more passionately than I could amply say, but I would like to say thank you very much, both of you and Allison, for a great year. Something tells me you two will be a trivia question in another 30 or 40 years, possibly the Knights of Columbus. But you did a fabulous job, honestly, through the most difficult year that anybody could ever imagine. And on a personal level, Tom, I just want to thank you for the communication and the daily, calls, almost daily, maybe sometimes twice a day with information. So thank you both, and I hope you both have a wonderful year. And while I have you, can I ask about inauguration? Has anybody discussed the organization of city government as of yet?
So yes, we've had discussions. The last discussion was between the mayor, myself, Ms. Danforth, as well as Mr. Ryder and Darrell Ann. What we're looking at doing is on the 4th, something very similar to what you see before you. There will be hopefully a blessing by clergy, and we're hoping for the students to be zoomed in to some capacity to, at the very least, sing the national anthem and possibly God Bless America, or at least one other song. We will do a reorganization of seats. Nobody will get out of their silo. Ms. Danforth will call our name and then pull each seat assignment then. We will not be changing seats that evening. You'll just kind of get an idea of where your next venture will end up. There will be a brief speech given by the outgoing president, the incoming president, as well as the mayor as far as the state of the city, and that would be about it. Because there are so many limitations on guests, it would only be Zoom as far as any other participatory manner. But that's been the discussion thus far.
Thank you very much, and happy holidays to everybody here.
Thank you. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the risk of being murdered by my fellow councilors due to the late hour, I am going to echo people's comments. Both you and Allison went above the call of duty this whole last year, so I really do thank you for your efforts. Very much appreciated. And lastly, I wanted to remember my mom, who we lost on the state 3 years ago. Thank you.
Sorry for your loss, Councilor O'Neill. Thank you and happy holidays. Councilor Melville.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to pass on, had a couple of issues with trees in the last couple of weeks. One was near the Welch School, a tree had gone down, and then another one was on Rainbow Road. The LaRue family had called, they had a tree issue, and the forestry department was immediately on there, took care of business. I wanted to thank them. Once I reached out to them, they were moving right along. So some kudos to them. Also, great job this year, Council President. City Clerk, I know it was boring, but you did good. Craig, thank you for your first year. Happy to serve with you. And to all my councilors, PATV, everybody that allowed the government to continue to operate in a difficult time. I know it wasn't always perfect. There were mistakes made, but everybody worked towards getting to the goal of continuing to operate the government. I think in the election we can take some next year. I think it's a good idea to take what we learned from that and kind of take. In the Army, they call it the School of Lessons Learned, and it's very helpful and for the long term. And so I want to thank everybody and to the residents of Peabody. Thank you for continuing to handle this crisis. It's not easy for anybody. But happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and let's get to 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think we have one more, yeah. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive a late communication from the Health Department and refer to item 4C on tonight's agenda.
No, that, unfortunately, that's just what was omitted from your particular packet regarding that specific permit.
So everyone else had it except for me, is that
correct?
What you're saying? That's fascinating. Well, so, all right. So I'll receive it to myself then.
There's a message there.
We'll strike that motion.
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate the clarification. And again, there's not a whole lot I can add to what my fellow councilors have said so far. Extremely appreciative of your leadership and professionalism through the most difficult of circumstances, level-headed throughout, and I think there were, at many times, we were probably just saying, you know, I'm glad it's not me this year. So thank you for being the one that was there and present and never shirking any of the responsibility along the way. Greatly appreciated, and job well done. And Allison, again, in terms of how you handled things, I have nothing but the highest level of praise. It was a tremendous job, and like everyone else, looking forward to next year. Happy holidays, and thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman McGinn. I'll be brief. I have no motions, orders, or resolutions. I just wanted to make a statement. This has been certainly a trying year for all of us. Obviously, the way we started the year certainly looks a heck of a lot different than the way we're ending it. I can't thank the council enough for being patient, for being amendable, for adaptations that we've had to overcome throughout this year, and to continue to put the city first and to try to do the best we can as far as moving the city forward with the city's business. As anybody that's been council president knows, you don't do this alone, and the clerk's office, and in particular, Ms. Danforth, has been unbelievable in this first year that she has been in her position, and what she's had to overcome and deal with. She gets sworn in January, and in the next 12 months had to deal with me. That's its own issue. A pandemic, a contentious election, and basically City Hall being closed for the majority of all of this. So I thank all of you for an amazing year, considering all of the obstacles we've had to overcome, and in particular, Ms. Danforth, for just the amazing job that she's done all year. With that said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
You heard the motion by Councilor Manning Martin. Roll call vote.
Councilors Welton.
Yes.
Sasslaw.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
O'Neill.
Yes.
Melville. McGinn.
Yes.
Rossignol.
Happy holidays, everyone. Yes.
Motion carries
Gavel
10
it.
to 0.
Mhm.